boys and girls, so I just read to you the noisy paint box. So we learned all about Kandinsky's abstract art. We learned that Kandinsky loved color, right, boys and girls? He loved to play around and experiment with different colors, right? He also believed that colors could create different sounds, right? How cool is that? So each color had a different sound. So when we look at his paintings, boys and girls, we do notice lots and lots of colors, right? We also notice the shapes, right? There's lots of shapes in Kandinsky's paintings. Well, how do we get shapes? We use lines, boys and girls, remember? Remember we said lines can create shapes. Lines can create letters and numbers, designs, and obviously lines create artwork, create paintings. Like I see a rectangle here, I see a triangle, I see a circle, I see a square, right? Well, we can't have shapes without lines, okay? Now, we do also see some random just types of lines, right, that don't necessarily make like a shape, right? But there's different lines, right? And I think we notice these lines, they pop out because of the color, right? They're black, okay? And they stand out because there's just so much color going on that the black lines and the shapes kind of make everything else stand out, right? So Kandinsky also said that when you look at his paintings, that he wanted you to feel something, right? So when you look at this painting, what do you feel? We all might feel something different, but I feel like excited, I feel happy. This painting, I don't know, I just feel like jumping in the painting, right? And just like walking on the different shapes, right? This would be such a fun painting to just be in, right? How cool is that? To use your imagination and to picture and imagine yourself in the painting, right? So, back to the whole lines and color. Last week we learned about lines, right? Now we're going to take all that information we learned last week and we're going to use it again this week. But this time we're going to be kind of adding color to it, which is like what we did last time, right? But however, we're going to just continue to build upon our lines, right? And this time we're going to learn that lines can create movement, right? So movement is one of the principles of design, right? Line is an element. It's something we use in art. But the principle is how are we going to use it? So how are we going to use lines? By creating movement, okay? And so that's what we are going to do for this next lesson, okay? We are still going to be using lines, okay? So what you're going to need for this lesson is a blank sheet of paper, a crayon, or a marker. I would like for them to be black, okay, because we're going to want our lines to show up, okay, against all of the color that we're going to add next week, okay. So this week it is just step 1, okay. So step 1 of the lesson is going to be to use your black crayon or marker to create different lines and shapes, okay, that we want to express movement, okay, because lines can also do that, right? Like, for example, this little guy right here, okay, he kind of looks like he's just like just darting across the page, right? We see that because of these little lines right here. So you can do it that way, or you can just add random shapes, okay, that are kind of all going to be looking as if they're kind of just moving around the paper, all right? So before I start kind of showing you how I started on the lesson, I want to talk a little bit about like what's going on with my shapes and things like that. So, and talk about a couple of things. Like for one, if you look at my drawing or my shapes, you notice that I didn't just draw them in one area, right? They're throughout the whole paper. Okay, we really want to use the space of our paper. Okay, you might want to think about adding some overlapping lines or shapes. So I've done that here with this kind of like lightning bolt going, kind of overlapping the rectangle. Okay, I've done that again like here as well, in this little shape right here. Okay, so boys and girls, along with coming up with your own shapes, feel free to, look at Kandinsky's artwork. Use him as an inspiration, right? Because since he is, who inspired this lesson, you're more than welcome to take a look at his artwork and use some of his shapes as inspiration, right? That's pretty cool that we can do that, okay? And then make them your own, of course, as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get you guys started on the first step, which is to create your different shapes, your different lines, okay? And I always love to like turn my paper after I draw one shape. That way they're not kind of, so that way like not my shapes aren't going all in the same direction. So we do want our lines to be bold. So I do go over, like we don't want our lines to be really skinny like that, right? Or really light. Okay, there's a difference. Okay, we want them to be thick and bold so that way they stand out. Okay, some lines can be skinnier than others, that's true. And that kind of makes your artwork more interesting. Okay, but as you can see, which one stands out? The loop-de-loop line or this curved line? This one, right? And that's because I went over it again. So let's see, now I'm going to come up with another little shape. This one's always one of my favorites. I love the spiral. And I'm going to go back over my lines again, because once we add color, we tend to lose the darkness of this line, so I usually will go over it again. So I'm not going to spend too much time going over the line, because I know that I'll probably have to go back and color it again, so that way it stands out. Alright, I'm going to turn my paper again, make a triangle. Oops, that's okay, I can just make this one really thick. So that's perfectly okay if I kind of went outside the line. Alright, let's see. Maybe I'm going to add some extra lines. I always enjoy this lesson. I've done this lesson a few times, and it's always one of my favorites just because it's just so like relaxing and calming, just coming up with the different shapes. Overlapping. Let's see. Maybe I'm going to have a zigzag line right here. But boys and girls, this is going to be step one of the lesson. So you are not going to complete the lesson this week. Okay, I'm only getting you to step number one today. So this is going to take you some time, okay, because you do want to really think about, your shapes and your lines, have fun with it. You can even listen to music while you're coming up with your shapes and your designs and your patterns, things like that. And that might help you as well. Kind of might spark some creativity as well. Okay, some new ideas. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let you guys start on the lesson. This is going to be your first step. Next week, I will introduce step number 2. Okay, but this is step number 1, and this is what you're going to work on this week. So boys and girls, I hope you enjoy this first part of the lesson, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Bye, guys.